About President Barack Obama there back in 2008, starting to talk about the fact that, I know gas prices were low here, but under George Bush, but they're going up because they have to go up to make you quit buying gas guzzler cars. We have to use social policy to force you into, I don't know, he wasn't even talking about electric cars back then. Cylinder was a horrible failure. That the American taxpayer paid for. This has been the plan of the left for a long time, to force an end to coal-burning power plants and, the burning of fossil fuels. This is what they're after. Now Joe Biden is back at it, and we've got Zach Yost on the phone with us this morning, a political strategist with Young Voices. And Zach, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know President Biden is wanting new power plant regulations. I've talked a little bit about this story, but I don't, just like the same problem I had with it back in 2008 when Barack Obama talked about it, how else are they going to fill out the grid if they shut down too many coal-burning power plants?
Right. Well, they're not. It seems at the moment there's not really a feasible alternative to fossil fuels, which provide 60% of our electricity. And the issue with these new proposed regulations, there's of course nothing wrong in the abstract with reducing emissions and whatnot, but it's a question of trade-offs. And if too many fossil fuel burning plants are required to close because they can't, economically produce electricity with these new emissions requirements, well, we're going to have more blackouts. And we already vast swaths of the country are at risk of power outages. And this is sort of what Republicans are sort of bringing up, trying to pump the brakes on it, saying we need to talk to, the other players in the electricity market, notably this organization called NERC, the Electrical Reliability Corporation, that's sort of a nonprofit that works with the government. Every year they put out a report on where there's a risk of sort of rolling blackouts and whether it's due to the heat or other, extreme weather events.
There are times, I swear, that this group of people who are pushing for these things would like to see this country go back to like pre-industrial revolution kind of society. I don't know why they seem to think that we can shut down all of these coal-burning power plants and not have rolling blackouts. We saw what happened in the extreme weather in Texas when everything froze up down there, and I know that the turbines and the solar were just part of the problem, but it still speaks to the fact that it's not ready for prime time, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't take 60% of electrical generation and just switch it over in 5 years or so to solar and wind, which are not they could not produce as steadily as fossil fuels do.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is here. I do know that these regulations, don't they have a target date of 2038? So basically 15 years from now. By 15 years from now, they want these power plants to cut 90% of their output. Is that correct?
I think, that 90% of emissions reduction is the goal. It's not a lot of power plants. The worry is they're going to end up just closing,
they'll just shutting down
because it's not feasible at all for them to stay in business and do that. And the EPA points out that there'd be health benefits. They have these very specific sort of predictions that by 2030 even there'd be all these benefits, which could very well be true. But the issue is that there's no solutions in life. There's only trade-offs. So those health benefits might be there, but what are the health costs for elderly people who don't have air conditioning on a 95-degree day or something like that? It's why we should not be rushing into this sort of willy-nilly.
Yeah, what's the health benefit of freezing to death? I don't know, but if you got rolling blackouts because of demand on the grid, I just don't think people appreciate how what's the word I'm looking for? How our power grid is structured and how sensitive it is to outages in a major area, like we had in Texas, or what you see in Illinois shutting down a bunch of its power plants a few years ago. They've got to go somewhere to get that energy.
Hey, Zach, this is Mark's colleague, Kim St. Ange. She just had a quick comment. I'm looking online and, thinking about these car companies and how many of them are trying to say, hey, we're going to have, a majority of our sales from these electric vehicles by, 2035 or 2040. I don't even know that that's really feasible.
The grid couldn't take it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big concern. I mean, proponents of electrical vehicles will say, oh, well, people will be charging them at night when there's less demand on the grid. But if there's a major weather event and there's, a blackout, well, there's no one's charging anything. I mean, you're stuck wherever you are, which could have serious implications if there's actually like an extreme weather event, a blizzard, something you need to leave. Well, the electricity's out. Sorry, you're stuck.
Yeah, that's true. Zach, how can people find out more about Young Voices?
They can follow me on Twitter at Zachary Yost or subscribe to my Substack, The Yost Post.
All right, very good. I appreciate your time. Zach Yost there. Good to get him on here this morning. Kim, have you had any experience in one of these EVs?
No. I know friends who drive them, but that's a really good point. If you live in one of those areas that's prone to the power going out, what happens if someone has a medical emergency and you're like, oh, I forgot to charge my car last night. I can't go.
I know I've been stuck in traffic before in the dead of winter. Hopefully you have a full tank of gas, right?
My dad always told me that.
You should, right? I mean, there's just things you need to think about in extreme weather like that. But whether it's heat or cold, an EV battery is going to run out after a few hours. If you're just sitting there trying to keep the air conditioner
idling
going. I don't know. I just don't know how they fix that problem. It's just not ready. I don't think most Americans are ready for it. If you want to have an EV because most of your commute is a couple of miles to work and back each day and that works for you, I'm fine with it. Just don't try to force me to do it. We're about to take a trip to Glacier National Park. It's a 28-hour drive. Seems like 20 of that is just across the states of Wyoming and Montana. You'll go miles. They tell you to never pass a gas station. What would you do if you had an electric? You could not go out west in an electric vehicle. I would challenge somebody to that, to tell me you could drive to Glacier National Park in an electric vehicle, unless you're towing a diesel generator behind your car that you can start to charge the car up with, because I don't know how you do it.
Well, how many times, I wonder, would you have to even charge it? You have to charge it for hours.
Yeah.
And then, these stations that are in those rural areas aren't going to have an electric, charging station for these Teslas.
It's true. Very true.